The Epic versus Apple lawsuit has finally entered the courtroom this week, and the details are very, very interesting. They are trickling out. The last round of discovery turned up some, very intriguing information, let's just say. And about many things. You know, even Microsoft's internal review systems. Microsoft throwing some shade at Naughty Dog. Future revenue split plans, and this is all while the opening day of the trial happened, and that was very dramatic and entertaining. Proceedings are barely underway, and already we have had kids literally screeching "Free Fortnite" over the courtroom's direct line. We've got confirmation that Sony act very strangely in some ways. And some details on the staggering amount of money that Fortnite makes each year, and also, apparently, the Epic Games Store will one day be profitable, but it's got a lot to go, plus a lot of other things that are being turned up in Discovery that I really think these companies would not want us to know. So what's the deal? Oh, well, the deal is the Glaive pin, the art bundle, the daily briefing, and a whole bunch more, and it's wait. That's the deal for our Patreon, where the link is down below. I guess you could click that link, but technically we are here to work out what's the deal with the Epic versus Apple situation, so maybe I'll do that. To set the tone, here's a highlight that I saw just before recording this. So you know how Tim Sweeney has been saying that they're really, taking the fight to Apple on behalf of all developers? He is the Tim Sweeney in shining armor, saving all of us from exorbitant store fees. But hey, 30% I think is too much. Well, when asked in court if he would accept a deal cut between Apple and Epic that would just be a different split for them, he said yes. So, there goes the integrity. It was all about the money. What a surprise. Well, I think it was about doing the right thing, and also very much about the money. And there's been other things too. I mean, Apple, they're a company, they like to protect their image. But now we get to see internal emails between Apple executives. As an example, Tim Sweeney mailed Tim Cook. He mailed Apple with a bunch of suggestions about how to do the store better. To which Tim said, is that the guy from a rehearsal? Quite weird. But let's truly begin. This hearing kicked off with Apple and Epic trading blows in their opening statements. Epic started by accusing Apple of building the iOS ecosystem as anti-competitive. This is citing a 2010 email from Steve Jobs that expressed Apple's desire to lock customers into their ecosystem. What a surprise. They also claimed that Apple implemented their App Store policies in an inconsistent way, which I think is actually fair enough. Now, Apple, meanwhile, argued that the App Store's success has actually improved customer choice, but an Epic victory would ultimately hurt customers. I mean, it's interesting. A tidbit from the Fortnite revenues, it's got like iOS being, in the reported period, $24 million, or $28 million, something like that, but Android being like 2.4. Kind of showing that, man, for all that work that Apple did do in their App Store, they certainly did cultivate an audience that actually does end up paying for things. Now, of course, these opening statements only happened after, the most Fortnite drama ever, because, you see, the court's public phone line allowed anyone to call in and just listen to the proceedings. But the court failed to mute participants for the first 20 minutes. Over 200 people were on that call at once, a large portion of which were in fact young fans, yelling "Free Fortnite," demanding the game to be reinstated on Apple devices. So it looks like Epic's call to arms marketing worked after all, but I kind of doubt it'll have the positive impact they thought it would. The rest of the opening day was thankfully a lot more subdued, but no less interesting, as we also got, some insight into Epic's financials. A board presentation from last January confirmed that Fortnite made a massive $9.1 billion across 2018 and 2019. The Epic Games Store made $235 million during this 2-year period. Now, the same presentation predicted that Fortnite would make about $2.7 billion in 2020, but it actually ended up making over $5 billion. So that probably does a lot to offset the store costs. Now, speaking of that store, Epic CEO Tim Sweeney confirmed during his testimony that the store is, quote, hundreds of millions of dollars short of being profitable. Which, of course, is no real surprise. Now, Sweeney says this deficit is due to upfront costs and that the store will turn a profit within 3 or 4 years. So, the Epic Games Store launched back in December 2018, and it might take until 2024 for it to be profitable. Interesting, and to be honest, that's long-term thinking and investment, which I can't exactly throw shade at. We shouldn't always be doing things just for a quick buck. Now, we recently learned that Epic poured about $444 million into the Epic Games Store during 2020. But opening day of the case also revealed some specific details on the exclusivity deals that we've talked so much about. So Epic paid $146 million for 6 months exclusivity in Borderlands 3. That's a lot of money. This included an $80 million guarantee for the developer, slash publisher, and a $15 million marketing commitment. The deal also included $20 million of non-recoupable fees, $11 million for the Borderlands Handsome Collection, and $20 million for Civilization 6. Epic actually recouped that $80 million inside of 2 months, and Borderlands 3 drove 1.56 million users to the Epic Games Store. The 12% cut then earned them $9.2 million from Borderlands 3 sales. Now, Sweeney also confirmed something very interesting, that Sony are the only platform holder that actually charges fees in return for enabling crossplay. This was after a 2019 document detailing this game was discovered, where yes, Sony require a royalty payment when a large number of PlayStation users contribute to a cross-platform title's earnings. I mean, wow. The fee is apparently to, quote, offset the reduction in revenue that is caused by the game being cross-platform. That makes sense. Sony always had been reluctant to permit cross-platform play on PlayStation. Back in 2018, when Epic were actually lobbying for Fortnite to be cross-platform, Sony refused, on the grounds that Epic couldn't really show Sony how it would improve PlayStation's business. Now, this is an argument that seemed to be used to, sort of shut up anybody asking for cross-platform support on PlayStation. So, was Sony's decision to ultimately support cross-platform play on certain platforms, was that motivated entirely just by this new fee scheme? I would say yes. And actually, it does make a bunch of sense, because here's the deal. PC is doing well off in its own corner. Xbox is really struggling, and it's a bit far behind in that console generation. Sony, at that time, they were the top dog, so yeah, what would they have to gain from cross-platform play? I can actually see Sony's logic here from a pure business side, even though they, I'd say, really are not happy about this confidential document being made public. But I guess from purely a consumer side of things, serves them right. Microsoft did not escape the spotlight either, because it turns out that Xbox staff reviewed The Last of Us Part 2 just internally. So Mike and John from the Xbox portfolio team review, they're actually quite positive about The Last of Us Part 2. They said that it was the kind of thing that, a narrative-driven game should aspire to be, that the game's quieter moments are exceptionally well done. Fair enough, I think the quieter moments were definitely the good moments, and mostly flashbacks that were not the... Let's not get into that. Now, the review also does call the game's visual quality and the attention to detail, quote, absolutely best in class, but it's not all praise, and this is the funny, spicy bit, because the review says that Naughty Dog, quote, can't seem to make decent gun combat in any of their games. Yeah, they really can't. I mean, come on, you have that much money and resources, how is your gunplay kind of that not great? Anyway, this reviewing duo ultimately conceded that not every team has got the talent or money to make something like The Last of Us Part 2. But there you go, that's what internally Microsoft thought about that game. Sticking with them then, last week the company actually announced that they will be reducing their cut of PC game sales from 30% to 12%. But new documentation discovered because of the Apple v. Epic lawsuit actually suggests that Microsoft was considering extending this change to the Xbox Store. That would have been insane. I mean, a 12% cut on the Xbox Store? Honestly, it seems baffling to me from a business perspective, and perhaps it's not surprising that they've since confirmed that they will not be changing the revenue split on console. But even hypothetical ramifications there are quite fun to think about. I mean, seeing Microsoft do that on their own console certainly would have ratcheted up the pressure in Steam. Moving on then, curiously enough, the document also details a stipulation that developers can only access the improved PC revenue split if they grant streaming rights to Microsoft. Now, that was not in the announcement last week, and Microsoft have not actually confirmed or denied whether that is still a part of the deal, but it would have to be something about xCloud, right? I mean, a bit weird they do it that way. By the way, the document also confirmed that Stalker 2 will be an Xbox exclusive for 3 months, that Tetris Effect Connected for 6 months, and that The Gunk will be exclusive in perpetuity. So there we go on that one. Now, we've also found out something a bit wild. How much money Epic gave developers in return for those free games. Team Meat, they only got 50 grand. What the hell? That's it. Slime Rancher, $500,000. Subnautica, 1.4 million. Somehow, For Honor, they gave Ubisoft 63 grand. What? That's really strange. Ultimately, of course, what these numbers boil down to is user acquisition costs, which is, of course, the cost of getting a customer via all these free games. Of course, Epic did all of this to drive usage, get new users on their store. And all of those user acquisition costs pretty much range between 50 cents and $10. Like, Inside and Celeste, you know, big indie darlings, they got 800 grand and 750 grand respectively. Yet they didn't drive all that many new Epic accounts, hence them having, you know, $10 user acquisition costs. Sort of interesting. Anyway, the TLDR here is that these numbers are for the first 9 months of the scheme, right? And in those 9 months, they paid just shy of 12 million. They got just under 5 million new accounts. So I guess a bit of a mixed bag for the devs. Some definitely did better than others. This whole thing's really interesting. The Epic and Apple legal debate has been dragging on for long enough that in a way we're all sick of talking about it, but it's a good thing that the trial is underway, and at least we are getting funny shit from this, right? I mean, it's nice for just having all of these fun little tidbits appear. Now, granted, Microsoft and Sony are probably not happy that their beans are being spilled. I mean, what if the next thing to appear is, you know, confirmation that Phil Spencer just puts random crap in his shelves to mess with all the game journos? Who knows? You know, I mean, what else to charge, do Sony charge hidden fees for? Are all those kids going to call to the court back and scream free Fortnite when the verdict comes in? I mean, there's so many questions here. And it's also set a lot of the Apple world on fire, but we're not really covering as much of that because, I know you guys don't really care about it that much in general. Honestly, for me, I'm just excited to see the court documents that really do seem to contain loads of dirty laundry for a bunch of big companies. You know, reveal some of the scummy stuff that could be going down. So that's it for me. I hope you found this interesting, and I'm sure that as the weeks roll on, we'll have other little compilation videos like this one, just going through some of the crazy, wacky tidbits that arise through this court case. So that's it for me. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.